Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back inside the Now Morning Show this morning. I am very, very honored this morning to have Dr. Rudolph Ottley join us, the author of Calypsonians From Then to Now, and then he has a book called Calypso Fiesta, which I'm really, really excited about reading, and I'm hoping to get a chance to read it very, very soon. But he joins me on Zoom this morning. Good morning, Dr. Ottley.
Good morning, Ruckus and your TGT crew.
How are you doing this morning?
I am pretty good.
Let me say thank you, first of all, for joining us this morning, for waking up this earlier and joining us this morning. We appreciate it very much. And congratulations on the new book. I know it's launched since 2021 on San Fernando Hill, but you've been making that circuit and doing that tour and traveling with the book. I'm really interested to know what sparked the desire to create a book about Calypso Fiesta.
Well, it stemmed from my research over the years, and it also based on highlighting the fact that Calypso Fiesta is one of the major components of the Trinidad Carnival, and it's also one of the most significant Calypso events over the years. And because without Calypso Fiesta, there'd be no Calypso Monarch.
Right.
And therefore, I thought that one should document how it started. The fact that although it's based in San Fernando, it's really started in Port of Spain, the Guardian Sports Club, and then it went to the Queen's Park Savannah. And then in 1964, in an effort to spread the carnival throughout Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Williams and the CDC decided that they will stage semi-final for the first time at La Prima Bowling in San Fernando.
And
so
from
really
there,
a history of this.
And then from there, we see a history of it growing and becoming a staple event in the carnival, whereby, I mean, everybody is go to Calypso Fiesta. It is nationally viewed, internationally viewed, recognized, and of course, is that platform that some people even hear Calypsos for the very first time for the season at Calypso Fiesta, if they didn't make it to the tent, as the case may be. Can you tell me, in terms of what you've learned about the competition over the years, since it became actual competition, in terms of the growth of Calypsonians, the growth of the industry, and the Calypso music as a result of it? What impact do you think that competition in particular had on it?
Well, I've done a number of things. I can start off with the format, how initially Calypsonians were selected to compete at the Fiesta. The first of all, 10 managers used to select 2 Calypsonians from each tent and say, well, okay, Ruckus, you and another Calypsonian will represent the tent. And then it moved from that stage whereby the CDC came around and selected Calypsonians from the various tents. So the format changed over the years. And now it has become whereby you have to now compete with the Calypso judges coming to the tents and selecting those to go to Fiesta. But the significant part of Fiesta, though, is that it really sets the tone for Calypsonians to move from that stage of what I call ordinary stage to become part of the creme de la creme of the Calypso fraternity. Once you make Skinner Park, then your status improves in the Calypso fraternity.
Is that still the case?
You find that, oh yes. I mean, because it has to do with a number of things, factors. For example, Fiesta is one of the biggest audiences for Calypsonians, because if we get over 35,000 people at Fiesta, whereas even if you go to the March Gras show, I mean, nowadays, if you get 7,000 people at the March Gras show, you get plenty of people. So it's really a showcase, it's a showpiece for the Calypsonian to become popular. And therefore, a number of them who may not have even gone on to the Calypso Monarch finals, they always revel in the fact that they made Fiesta. And if you discuss with them, they always say, well, I made 2 Fiesta, no. How many did you make? Kind of thing. And so it's really a hallmark for them. It's something that really improved their status in the industry.
What impact did the competition have on the industry in and of itself, though? Because I feel like I saw an article just this weekend. I mean, we're talking Calypso history, right? And there was an article this weekend where even it was Brother Valentino and David Rudder were talking about that Calypsonians are now only making music for that competition. They're not making music to make music. They're making music for the competition itself. And that seems to be the target and the goal.
Yeah, that's factual. I think given the fact that the Calypso and the Calypsonians that we have in the last 20 or let's say 30 years have not really been entertainers. They have become aligned politically they have become almost put into square pegs and round holes in the context that they don't live the life of a Calypsonian, whereby the Calypsonian would have created out of the society what existed, not necessarily only the politics. They have become very much pigeonholed into becoming quasi-politicians for various reasons. And therefore, as both David and Vladimir have stated, you don't have people like the mighty Popo, people who made calypsos to entertain you. When you go to the Calypso tent these days, it's basically like if you go to a classroom at UWI or at UTT. The same kind of information that you have in the newspapers, you get in the Calypso tent. So there's a lack of creativity in producing the information or the actual events in the society, and that's what we're missing. Previously, Calypsonians were taking the same happenings in the society, but put it in a Calypso style using Calypso language. And that is important in the context that the Calypso language. The people who write Calypsos these days are not Calypsonians, and therefore they write using a particular language. When you listen to a Blakey, for example, describing a steel flash, that is not ordinary language, you know. That is Calypso language, and therefore that is what differentiates today's Calypso from yesterday's Calypso.
Because I was going to contest that, you know, back in the day it was said that Calypso was the poor man's newspaper. So to be able to put the information at any newspaper in the Calypso is something that I've seen over the years, and you could go back in history and you could tell, you know, like the Graf Zeppelin, you know, you could tell when certain iconic moments would have happened using Calypsos, right? So, you know, when I wanted reference for the Federation and context for the Federation, I could go and listen to Sparrow. I could go and listen to certain things when it comes to certain times in history. But like you mentioned, the language was very, very different. At what point do you think it changed? When did it change from being that Calypso language, that storytelling language, that engaging language, to what it is now?
I think it went a specific date may be hard to pin down, but I think over the years, and I would say around 1995, you could have seen a change in the formatting of the Calypso, the structure of the Calypso, and even more in after 2000. I think something happened in 2000 whereby the 1998 was one of the first times when the Calypso Monarch got over $750,000 as the price. And the money issue, the prize money became very, very much increased over that period from 1998 to what it is now. And the focus became winning the crown. There's no longer to the tent and entertain the patrons. It was about winning that crown, because once you won that $1 million, your life would have changed. And for a number of the young Calypsonians, that became the focus. And so that some Calypsonians no longer sing or create songs to entertain you. They sing with the major aim of being selected to the semifinals and hopefully to the finals to win. The entertainment value has disappeared.
Right.
And if I make a point about what has happened, even in when we put on a Calypso show in these times, the most of the Calypsos we have to use, or Calypsonians, are the songs of yesteryear to bring people out. And I want to reference in particular the Apollo show that was staged in New York over the last couple of months ago by Tuco. And if you look at the content of those Calypsos and why it was so well received, a lot of the songs were not 20, 24 songs, or even they had to go back to the library to have songs that people would have been overjoyed and be entertained by. Had they used 20, 24 songs, you would have gotten a different narrative on the outcome of the show. And that to me tells me, if you have an show in 2024 in an effort to win people back to the Calypso tent, and you cannot use your 20, 24 songs, then there's something that is fundamentally wrong with what we're producing now.
How do we fix it?
How do you fix it? By first of all, by getting investment into the Calypso art form. And investment meaning we create schools, as Mighty Brigo used to do, have a school where you teach young people who are interested in Calypso how to write Calypsos. Because when you learn to write a Calypso, to go back to my earlier point, you learn a language, a Calypso language. And it's something the Mighty Chalk just talks a lot about at UTT. the language of Calypso is different from English language. It's two different things. And therefore, that is the first thing. Second thing is that the government, and I don't want to put it in always a government thing, but rather than giving prize monies of $1 million or $2 million, give the organization, TUCO, to create schools by instruments for music bands, because another thing we're losing is musicians who can play Calypso music. We have a lot of top class Calypso musicians, people who support the artists, but some of them are not very good at playing Calypso music. And I know some people want to know what's the difference. There's a difference at the timing in terms of how you, as a musician, how you play, how you support the artist in front. We don't have that with the Francis, the Roy Cape. We have very good young musicians, don't get me wrong, but playing Calypso music is a different kind of instrumentation that you need. So we have to invest in schooling. We have to also invest in terms of facilities, as the late brother resistance used to always be more on the fact that there are no spaces for performances. Where do we have a good Calypso show where we want to attract 10,000 people? The open air, the Queen's Park Savannah, Napa can only hold, I think, 7,000 or something like that.
Napa could hold 1,000.
1,000, okay, all right. So, okay. So where do we want to bring in a big show and extend it to even a Soca Monarch show? If we want to have a Marshall Montano and a Bungie and Fair and Nyla as a big Trinidad and Tobago show, do we always have to go back to the Savannah, which does not facilitate a good sound system, the environment in case it should rain? You know.
But Dr. Ottley, I would challenge that and say, you compared it just now to the show at the Apollo. How big is the Apollo? How many people does the Apollo hold? And I'm not sure.
But it's the cost of going to the show, you see. I think the Apollo was over $300 or something to go. I'm not sure, again, the gross details. But again, the point, though, that I was making about the Apollo, if you want to attract a foreign patrons, and then your only area of getting them attracted to the show is to go back to the archival music. It says something about what we had before as to what we have now. That's the point I'm trying to get there with that.
I don't disagree with you, but I also think it speaks to cultural confidence, because I do think that we have some 2024 Calypsos that can stand up and that can entertain in a similar manner. And I draw reference to just this weekend. I hosted the Saturday brunch with Hedon Francis, and he sang his 2024 song, and I think that got the most response out of the audience based on his delivery, right? So I think it boils down to cultural confidence.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. And okay, if we just spend 2 minutes to talk about that. If you look at the Nebraska for 2024, I just talk about Hedon's song, I will talk about Marshall's song, I will talk about Kurt Allen.
Right.
And Pirinashi. That's 4 out of how much? 12. I would have hoped that when we go to Apollo, we would have had those artists there. Again, because to show, to use your word, the cultural confidence in the Calypso and the young artists that we have. Again, if you look at the artists who comprise that show in New York, again, we have some issues there. How many young people were there?
Right. All right. So,
so some strange messages have come out of that show in particular, and also in terms of the organization and how we go about doing things.
So we have plenty of work to do, but the work continues, and I thank you very much for joining us this morning and for doing your part so far. Tell me before we go, where can we get the book Calypso Fiesta?
A paper base on
Alcazar Street.
Alcazar Street. Alcazar Street. Okay. Thank you, Rufus.
All right,
and also, it's in all the libraries, NALIS, and the National Archives for reference purposes.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dr. Ottley. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Same to you and your crew. Thanks again.
Right. Take care. That's Dr. Rudolph Ottley, the author of Calypsonians from Then to Now, also the author of Calypso Fiesta at Skinner Park, the gateway to Trinidad and Tobago Calypso Monarch title. We take a quick break and we come back with more on the Now Morning Show. Stick around.